Okay, good evening, everyone. This is a meeting of the Capital Planning Committee, Wednesday, November 8th, 2023, 6 p.m. Although I'm officially opening the meeting at 6:06. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and will be broadcast, or won't be broadcast live. It will be posted on the Lunenburg Public Access Facebook page as a recorded Zoom meeting, and that will be within 24 hours after the close of the meeting. If you have a smart device and would like to join us, the webinar ID is 846-0798-7173. If you would like to join us by telephone, the number is 888-475-4499. Once again, the webinar ID is 846-0798-7173. The posted agenda lists all topics which may be discussed at tonight's meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for the discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. We do have a member remotely. We have Matthew Brenner and Chris Bernard and myself in live Ritter. We have Peter Beardmore remote, so I will do a roll call presence vote. So Mr. Menard.
Here.
Mr. Beardmore.
Here.
Mr. Brenner.
I'm here.
And I am hopefully here. So we'll start off with any public comment from the committee members this evening.
I just wanted to advise you, Tom, that
Yes.
I still do not have access to the files that are configured either in Word or PowerPoint through the SharePoint. I can get to the files, the folders, but when I open the files, I can't access them through my access. I advised the town manager during our meeting on Monday, and I haven't heard anything. So with respect to minutes or anything like that, I'm still kind of flying blind.
You need, I mean, they'll be on the screen tonight. Do you need them tonight?
No. I'm just advising you that I have not done any pre-reading that I would normally do.
Plenty of time. If you don't have it resolved by, let's say, Monday, then please let me know and I will call Casey or Dan Nadareski myself to try to get it resolved, because it should be an easy thing to ask permissions. But thank you.
I appreciate it. I suspect that the issue is that I do not have an Office 365 account with the town, but I don't know for sure. So
Are you logged in with your town email or your Lunenburg schools?
I don't have a town email. I only have a Lunenburg schools email.
I just gave Peter Beardmore number, right?
Okay.
Maybe
All right, well, if we don't have results, like I said, let me keep me posted well before the next meeting. So I can
okay, maybe that'll solve it.
Yeah. Okay. Any other public comment from the members? Any public comment from the public? Anybody online? I'm looking and I see nobody. Okay. So tonight we have the presentation of us from the DPW. We're very happy to have the DPW Director, Bill Bernard, here with us to introduce himself and to go through his PowerPoint. So before we go off camera, Bill, so people know who you are, why don't you introduce yourself, and then we can go and I'll share the screen.
All right, well, good evening, Lunenburg. I'm Bill Bernard, the DPW Director.
Okay, and let's share. Okay,
Looks like we're ready to go.
so hold on, let me minimize these window on the side here. Drag it down. Okay, Bill, take it away.
All right, so just the cover, I just chose a picture of some of the work we do, right, sweeping roads. So I tried to break the capital planning into a 10-year plan. By priority and then ranked by priority by fiscal year. And this spreadsheet shows it here. This is showing fiscals 25, 26, 27. The next slide goes up to fiscal 34. So in 10 years, grand total, asking for $6.7 million, almost $1 million per year. Some of the out years, it's kind of hard to predict at this point, so those will grow in future years. What's pretty solid though is the equipment. So I've come up with a replacement plan for the equipment. The next slide kind of shows how I did that. Oh, no, this slide is organizational chart. So it just kind of shows we're pretty small. Yeah, on the highway side, we have the superintendent and then 5 heavy equipment operators, which for almost 100 miles of roads and all the work we do is tiny. So I put it here just to show it was small and to say that these requests, they're essential for our operations. We need the equipment. Obviously the guys, we don't have laborers to do everything, right? We need the equipment. And some of the infrastructure repairs, especially stormwater. We're chasing stormwater all over town, every week. So a lot of the requests are for stormwater upgrades and drainage upgrades.
After last night, I guess you can fill in the assistant to the sewer business manager, right?
We can,
Yeah, excellent.
yes. All right, so this kind of shows what the American Works Association does for replacements. So, and then the federal government, I found their replacement guide, and then what we do. So here in Lunenburg, so pickup trucks, my plan is to replace them at 10 years, and that's 3 to 4 years longer than the American Public Works and the federal government. And same thing for the light dump trucks, 10 years. Which is the other recommendations. The heavy trucks will go 14 years, which is 5 to 7 years longer. And backhoe and load is 15 years, which is 5 to 8 years longer. We feel we can, maintain the equipment, keep it going for that length of time. Try to save the town some money, on the capital expenses, the upfront costs.
I have a question on this. Would you prefer questions at the end or as we go?
It's up to you.
Okay, let's do them as we go then. So on the top 2 guys from the APW and the federal government, they, in the right-hand column, they talk about threshold mileage and hours.
Right.
But you don't provide that. So where are our mileage and hours compared to those, aside from just the years?
Right, so the smaller trucks, they're gonna get more miles. The bigger trucks, they're not gonna get the miles. And then the backhoe loader, yeah, in 15 years will be over the hours,
Okay,
yeah.
I think it says 8,000 hours. On the backhoe, that's what you have in your description.
Yeah. All right, so fiscal 25, my number 1 priority is a new front end loader. We have an existing front loader, same we're requesting now. The reason for the second loader is this loader will have a snowplow, which is will help out our operations in the winter quite a bit. We get calls to help out the school, push back their parking lots, that this would be great for that. Right up here at the town hall, this intersection gets a lot of snow. So this load would be good for helping the snow. The other thing it would be good for, I always called it pack. It's, when the snow gets packed down onto the road surface and it freezes up. It's very hard to get off. So a loader with down pressure will help scrape that up. And then the other thing is, last year our loader went down and we couldn't get a part. We ordered the part and they said 3 months. We used the loader to load the salt trucks. So we were scrambling, we were loading with the backhoe, which is a much smaller bucket, takes a lot longer time. In snow and ice, time means everything. If you're late, that roads are gonna freeze up, you're gonna get that pack I talked about. So it's essential we have a loader during snow and ice season. And then our existing loader, it's getting up there in age, and it's got a lot of engine hours, and a lot of places recommend rebuilding the engines at 10,000 hours. We're almost at 8,000 now, so. With the second loader, we can, not use that one as much, make it last to 15 years, like I said. So definitely, this is something we definitely need.
What year is this one?
The
The
existing, the existing is a 2011. Yeah,
I just want to take a moment just to. Peter, I just want to let you know that I'm not monitoring the sheets because we're using my screen. So if you have any questions, please just interrupt and ask the question.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
And then I assume the existing one would have a pretty good trade-in value.
it's like, yeah, we would sell it on municipal bid. Hopefully it would bring in some money.
I just know tractors can get, premium even if they're old.
Yeah, as long as we keep maintaining it, it should do pretty well.
So I apologize. The Zoom here is not the best, so I'm not getting a full transmission when you're talking, Bill. Not your fault, just technology. Did you say your intent is to run 2 loaders and one as a backup, or are you intending to replace the existing loader?
It'd be 2 loaders used simultaneously.
What is the do you have an idea what the maintenance costs are currently for the existing loader?
I don't, but I can get you that number.
Okay. I guess just sort of from a philosophical standpoint, I'm very concerned about fleet management, and we have a long history of adding and not subtracting. And unless there is a measurable need to expand, meaning, our, to use the term, our load has increased, then in my mind, it's difficult to make the argument that we need another. And I understand the issues here around having a backup and needing to load a sander when the road's ice and that kind of thing. But there are backup scenarios. There is Powell's. Chapdelaines had a loader that didn't do anything last winter. So there are emergency measures that can be taken. And if we're buying a brand new loader, I would expect a high degree of reliability from that loader. So anyway, for what it's worth.
Yeah, well, I agree, and I don't think either loader will be sitting idle all that much. Definitely, it's a need that it would help our operations for sure.
So you talked about it during the winter. What happens? What do you use it for during the summer and spring and fall? And
Yeah, so the loader, it's I wouldn't say it's used every day, but quite a bit. It's used, loading trucks. We're always doing some kind of work on the shoulders of roads and uh, you know, removing trees and stuff, emergency calls, right? Sometimes easier in the middle of the night just to push the tree off the road and then go back during the day when it's safe. And cut it all up, get rid of it. So this loader is used quite a bit. It's an essential tool for us. We can go on to the next. All right, so the next one is the Northfield Culvert, which is Kelly's Pond. It's just outside of Chase Road, heading towards Fitchburg. So we had a capital funds last year to have an engineer design a replacement for that culvert. So this is the continuation of that project to actually fund the construction of that. So
So we have the plans.
I don't have the plans yet. I have an engineer that gave me a cost estimate. Kind of go back and forth, get the cost down a little bit,
Okay,
but I'm close and they'll be able to produce the plans.
right, but
Yeah.
you have the money, the funding to get the plan.
Correct,
Okay.
right.
How accurate do we think this 200,000 is?
So we just did a similar project at Page Street, Page and Arbor.
Okay.
And this similar size, it's a little bit bigger. This needs a little more guardrail and some other work. That job came in just over 100,000, I think it was 20.
Okay.
So I think this is a pretty good number for this job.
All right, thank you.
Are there any grants available for this, and or is this a potential earmark candidate?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your answer, Bill. Can you say that again?
I'm sorry. Sure, I said it potentially could be both. I don't know of any grants. I'd have to do a little research. And yeah, I think any of these projects could be an earmark.
We do always submit to our state delegation construction projects of this kind, so for earmarks. Of course, the state's budget cycle is not the town's budget cycle, which is problematic.
Does this fall under small bridge grants or is?
It does not, it's not considered a small bridge. It's basically a pipe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we can move on. The next one is for the North Cemetery. The area that's kind of behind the wall in the photo. Right now, the North Cemetery has, I think it's about 60 to 80 plots left, and the south has only around 20. So we're around 100 plots remaining, give or take. I think we're under that actually now. 40 burials per year, but that does include some mausoleum. So potentially we could be out of space in 2 to 3 years. So we need to get this area prepped and ready to start burying people there.
How many more plots, if this work was done, how many more plots would it open up? How big is the area?
It's good size. I think we had it laid out. And I think it's almost 800 plots.
Okay.
So it would be good for many years.
Does the cost of purchasing the plot not factor into the maintaining this kind of area? Like, is there some kind of self-sustaining fund associated with a cemetery?
Yeah, there's the perpetual care. So that is under the control of the cemetery commission.
But there's not enough money that comes in from that to do all of this. all the
Right.
maintenance work and all the, this is an expansion work, so.
Right,
Why not?
I don't know, and the same reason why ticket prices don't, cover the cost of doing productions and stuff, I mean, it's in the same area. I guess you could increase the size, the price of lots, I don't know, I don't know the math behind it, if it's still the mathematics is true.
right, so the cost of plots is very reasonable. The cemetery commission just voted a couple weeks ago to raise that rate, but it's still a very
And what is
reasonable
that,
rate. Perhaps,
Dave?
perhaps, I can't remember the number, is it 1,000 now?
I think it's 1,000 now.
Yeah,
So
Which-
at 40, let's just say that people bought plots the same rate that we're burying people, that would be 40.
mhm,
So that would be $40,000, there's a lot of work to be done in the maintenance.
right,
Why isn't the cost like $10,000? I mean,
Because we looked around at the areas and what other people, towns and all that were doing, and we didn't think it was right to raise it substantially from what we were doing at the time, and we should be in the same area as what everyone else is.
so I guess part of my question is, over
For
the next,
those, excuse me for 1 second, for those listening, this is Dave Doran, who's a member of the cemetery commission, because he's not on camera, so.
you're welcome to join us. I just see that there's like $800,000 worth of cemetery in the capital plan over the next 3 years. So it just seems like it should be more of a self-sustaining kind of operation.
do you know how much the perpetual care fund is right now? I think it's only about $100,000, they don't have all that money.
No, and we can only use the interest part of the perpetual funds. So we only get 10,000 a year out of it,
Right, well, potentially could use more,
yeah.
right, it would have to go through a vote at the town meeting. So every year they vote to, they ask for $10,000, which they use for different projects. Potentially, they could fund this project, but they'd be out of money very shortly.
I don't know, I guess I don't understand the sustainment model associated with the cemetery, and it seems like it should be a little bit more self-sustaining than taxpayer funded.
Well, the only money they get in would be for the sale of plots, and it's not like, they don't have concessions or anything, really. So, I don't
Then
know.
don't charge $1,000.
Okay, well.
I mean, that's my point,
I
right?
don't, even at 2,000, even if they doubled it, I have a suspicion it wouldn't cover.
But also, I might push back on that idea because I kind of feel like poor people get to be buried in the ground too. I mean, like, if I were to kick the bucket tomorrow, we presumably have enough life insurance that we could cover it, but a lot of people don't, and I don't know if it's the role of a town cemetery to be inaccessible to a large portion of the town.
I'm just saying, we have always the poor people this, the poor people that, it's not a lot of poor people in town, there are, don't get me wrong, but we're a wealthy town.
Here we are.
We're looking at $1 million almost worth of capital in the next 3 years, that was just my quick math. I don't know, I don't know what I hear the average cost of funerals and everything else is upwards of $25,000, and
No, that's way high. It's more like 8,500 to 10,000.
If I may say, just to answer your question, my wife passed away 7 years ago, it cost me 12,500. And what funeral parlance, if I was to die today, how much would it be? 15,000. It only went up 2,500 more. So it's not much.
A lot, that's a funeral home, so the burial actually doesn't cost.
Right.
Okay. So we'll move on.
We shall. Next piece I look for is an air compressor and jackhammer and some jackhammer bits. This one, I was shocked when I arrived there a year and a half ago that we don't have this equipment. It just baffles my mind. This is a piece of equipment we'd be out every day, almost every day using. If we're rebuilding a catch basin, they have to jackhammer out the road. Now they're using, they cut it with a saw and then they use the backhoe. So now you got a big hole instead of a nice little hole. You make it more work the way we're doing it. And then, sometimes you're digging a road and it might sink. So now you got a potential sink hole, right, going on. This can solve that. There's other things. Something came up, the state MassDOT kindly gave us some free signs. They gave us posts. The guys looked at the posts and it wasn't the style they used. The spud that you put in the ground, it's 4 feet long, it's square. They're like, how do we get those in? Right? I said, well, MassDOT uses it's like a jackhammer. They put it on and pound it in. This is, a tool that we need. And I'm surprised, very surprised we don't have it.
So how did we get by for the last 275?
What you said.
Well, I just-
Using the wrong, using the back of a wrench as a hammer.
Right.
That's what they were doing.
Yeah. Right. And a lot of manual,
How often would we use this a year?
that's probably 100 times a year.
100 days a year?
Potentially.
What's the rental cost for comparison's sake?
Something like this, probably $200 a day.
So
That's
that's,
150 days,
so that's, even 100 days a year, that would be,
2 years,
yeah,
it'll be over,
yep,
right, combined.
yeah, so
Right.
20,000 a year. Cool. Okay. I figured that math probably worked out in that direction if you were asking for it, but that could just
With
go.
a lifespan of 10, let's just say it's in the middle of that, let's say it's 15 years,
Yeah.
that's, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of savings.
Mhm.
So Bill, what comes to mind here,
I'm presuming. Go ahead, Peter.
just based on what you just described to me, I'll just ask the question and don't take it the wrong way, but why isn't this our top priority? Like if this is a piece of equipment that we're using, that we could use every day, we're as a member of the community, my thinking here is that I want to invest in the equipment that's going to enhance services the best, right? And it sounds to me like in terms of services to our general population, like this is a no-brainer, but maybe I'm missing something.
Oh, it's a good point, but in my mind, I think the loader is a more important tool.
The second loader.
Right.
Okay.
I would say. By that logic, by the way, just to feedback on that I would put this as a higher priority. Because it affects, again, the amount of savings we're talking about, I would put it ahead of the last one, not that I would discount the other one. But I think as a priority, this one seems to be a higher priority than the expansion of the cemetery, if we're going to prioritize them. So, I'm assuming that not having this, not only does it make holes bigger that didn't need to be, but I'm assuming it lengthens the amount of the job to complete.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Right, we end up purchasing more materials. If we need to buy more gravel or more hot mix asphalt, it's just.
Right.
Because we're digging bigger holes.
Additional wear and tear on heavy machinery
That
too.
too.
So there are a lot of accessories that can potentially go with an air compressor. You've got a jackhammer specified here. What are the other components specific to an air compressor that would be included in this, or are those the two basic components?
Well, those are the two basics. So with the jackhammer, when I priced it out, I priced out some different chisel bits, like a spaded one. appointed one, and like I talked about, we get that, for pounding and, signpost. The other thing we probably wanna get is like a blow pipe, blow the dust off the road. That sort of stuff.
Okay, I guess as I said to you last year when you came forward, like I'm a little hesitant around bundling items for capital planning purposes. This one I kind of get, like, you can't go and buy, I mean, I guess there are jackhammers that don't run off of high-end air compressors, but I guess what I'm concerned about here is that, do we need a nail gun? Do we need an impact wrench? Do we, is the scope here clearly defined? And in my mind, I'm not entirely sure that it is.
Right, so the two tools you mentioned, you'd use a much smaller size air compressor. You wouldn't
Yeah, sure.
use those tools, this kind of air compressor. So I think what I'm asking for is what we need. Maybe down the line, another tool come along that might benefit us. Having the compressor, then we could buy it.
Okay, but suffice to say, there isn't another tool that is the moral equivalent of a jackhammer that you're looking to bundle into this $30,000 project.
Right.
Okay.
Correct. So when I put together, I had a cement mixer in there, which again, I can't believe we don't have. I took that out of a bundle, right?
Okay.
I just want to say I appreciate the phrase moral equivalent of a jackhammer. Yeah, that's
It was worth attendance right there.
very much so.
All right, I'm ready to move on.
I have.
Oh, you have. All right, so, like I talked about at the beginning, stormwater issues. So there's an issue out here on Reservoir Road where the water comes down the hill, pours into the resident's driveway, goes right into their garage. So, we attempted to put some berm there. You can see in the picture, just doesn't do the job. So, I hired it's our stormwater consultant, it's CEI, or Comprehensive Environmental, to come up with some preliminary designs, which they have. They came up with cost estimates, and so I'm proposing, this request for capital plans for $75,000 to take care of this issue here. And Reservoir.
How long are the drainage wells?
So,
Linear feet or-
yeah, so in this one, let me figure out I think we had coming down the hill, we had a couple of swales, fill them with rock to slow the water down. Then we had a catch basin to catch it, and then a pipe across the street, kind of where the truck is in the picture. Cause there's a nice low area there where we could put the water. I think there was another catch basin on the other side, so. It's a good plan, it'll accomplish what we need there.
So it's more than just drainage wells, it's catch basins and
Correct, and pipes, yeah,
all on town land.
correct.
And this is a new issue, or this is something that's been happening forever for that? I'm sensitive to problems for any resident. I also look at 75 grand for what sounded to me like an issue for one resident, but that also may not be the case. But also, on the other hand, if we're sending a bunch of water into someone's driveway, we probably shouldn't be doing that either.
You do it a lot.
Yes,
That's not-
I guess where I'm going, is this something that has changed environmentally, or was something we've done? Or is this a case where someone built their house in a bad situation and now we're holding the buck? I say that having no clue about the scenario.
There are newer homes up the hill from this location, so it probably contributed to the problem. Sound familiar?
How long the problem
Yeah,
existed at this resident that you were aware of? Do you know the history?
I don't know the full history now, but almost from the day I arrived, I got a phone call saying, you gotta help me. So,
Out of curiosity, we've got a planning board rep here on the on this committee.
Yes.
To what extent, when we're looking at a project, to what extent is stormwater, relative to the effects on the road itself in front of the property and, downstream from the road, does that get discussed at planning board or?
In terms of new construction and, oh, discussed is an understatement. We have, in my, while I've been on the board, we have put into play, we always had, or for a while have had good stormwater laws. Our current stormwater bylaw is one of the more aggressive ones around, frankly. Because of issues like this that crop up. Now, so now when developers bring, if you're disturbing more than an acre of land, which since we have in many parts of town a 1 acre minimum lot size, and it's rare for a developer to only develop one parcel at a time. It's par for the course for them to be now putting in fairly complex and expensive drainage systems to get the water to infiltrate so it doesn't get into the road. That said, a lot of houses in this town were built before then. And we use guidelines because you have to use some kind of guideline. This has been a debate we've had back and forth. Guidelines lag, and the problem, and we're ahead of the guidelines, but we're at the point that we're having those storms on the regular, not once a century. So, I mean, there's a planning board meeting where I literally had to get out of my chair and go make sure my car was not washing away this fall.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, but so to that end, we have appropriate but aggressive stormwater bylaw. But that doesn't mean you can keep up without changing. So there's a confluence of factors at play. And does every developer do everything they're supposed to in a timely manner? I wish I could tell you yes, but that isn't true as well. And do all and stormwater things on a property to mitigate it require maintenance? And does every resident who owns property maintain their stormwater mitigation correctly? I wish I could tell you yes, we've put things in place to try to increase that level of compliance. But unless the town wants to hire someone to go inspect every private stormwater facility on record, that isn't, we have to hope to some extent.
So, number 5 and number 6 on this, just, I wish I knew more. That being said, I used to own 37 Laurel Lane. So I can tell you that the puddling on the, the front driveway of 37 Laurel Lane is a generational it's at least a 30-year-old issue. And a property was built on that piece of property, and the driveway sunk in, and I dealt with it, and the subsequent two owners of that property dealt with it, and it is what it is. But since then, the property across the street, which may be the referred property here, 34, and then the property adjacent to it, which I think is 39 or 41, have been built. And, to my knowledge, I think the problem has gotten worse. But Laurel Lane is a high water table area, right? Like if you're buying a property on Laurel Lane, you're going to deal with standing water. So I'm really kind of struggling with, what is the town's responsibility here?
So in this case, at Laurel Lane, it puddles right across the street. One side of the puddle is 2 to 3 inches deep, the other side about an inch. In the winter, that's gonna cause an ice hazard.
So there's two things that we usually look at, and that is ice hazards and then road, degradation because of the thaw, freeze, and then the water gets underneath in the spring and starts undercutting the road. So you could pave the road more often, which is, that. It's a tricky situation. We talked about it at length last night, and God knows I don't want to talk about it at length again tonight. But I mean, then some of it is just the effects of current weather cycles and climate cycles.
Right, so this one's a little more expensive because like Peter said, the water tables, so it's basically where they're gonna host the store the water here, Philemon Rock, just create a little storage so that it'll go in there instead of sitting on the road. But big storms, it's probably still gonna puddle, but not like it is now.
So like I said last night, and it's kind of funny that you have comprehensive environmental link. I do think we need a comprehensive stormwater approach in town. Beyond, just planning board, but guidelines
There's a whole
and
committee.
long-term
The
plans.
whole stormwater committee.
Yeah, but I think they just deal with water going into,
Stormwater Task Force has a very limited scope, and they already, by necessity, I think one could argue, they already exceed the scope that the committee was designed for. I believe they were originally simply a funding committee, effectively. It's gotten much bigger than that. That's my understanding of the history. I wasn't part of the town when the Stormwater Task Force was put together.
I don't have the charge in front of me, so.
yeah, maybe they could get the charge or whatever, but I just think. Because this is affecting residents, because this is affecting town property, roads, etc., and we're building. I think we just need to deal with this comprehensively.
But it's twofold. I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but it's twofold. First of all, according to Matthew, the planning board already has stricter rules than the state guidelines. That's number one. And the second one is, topography and erosion of personal private properties change over time. People dig a tree here, they put a garden here, all of a sudden they have a road, maybe some runoff goes up and it gets stopped in the middle of their property, but over years and years, it kind of washes out and gets to the road. And then you're looking at, okay, can you force somebody to do changes on the property that were approved because more water is coming off? I mean, I guess that's the question.
Right, so they have strict regulations. Houses are built, they're sold off to the new buyers. And then the first rainstorm, you see rivers coming off their driveways down into the roads, continuing down. So what good are all those if they're not enforced? I mean, it's like the stop signs in town obeys that stop sign, and they don't obey, I think, what is well designed and thought planning board. It's an enforcement issue, and I think it's a comprehensive solution towards how we're gonna deal with stormwater in this town.
So one thing that we have put into place, I don't remember every detail because, frankly, because I lean on Adam Burney for knowing a lot of the details, and that's kind of less useful now. But what we have put in place are are requirements for, there is some requirement for, we're basically registering your stormwater system maintenance. To say, yes, we're upkeeping. I don't know the details of that off the top of my head because we wrote that bylaw a couple of years ago. And if you want that, I can certainly get it for us, but the planning board has been making active steps to make it more enforceable. I also can tell you that if you want to make it even more enforceable, I would be in favor of that, and I suspect that other members of the planning board would be as well. But I think some of what we're talking about here requires, as Mr. Alonso, I believe, alluded to, or I can't remember who it was now. I think some of that requires more than just the planning board kind of saying this is what we should be doing.
Yeah.
But I think you'd find us amenable to looking at the bigger picture because it is a very real issue the town is facing. Absolutely.
Yeah, and then just where to deal with this water is the bigger, the bigger issue. I mean, we talked about that, right?
I tend to agree with, I tend to agree with Chris on this. I think we should take a page from what we went through, 8 or 10 years ago with pavement management, right? We were putting at best a couple $100,000 a year into pavement. Our roads were atrocious, and we put together a comprehensive plan. We invested $3 million. We borrowed $3 million, and then we've subsequently invested more and more every year into our pavement program, and our roads are pretty good. And what the situation that we're in now is we're looking at, nearly $500,000 of project work every year or more to deal with stormwater. And it's affecting our capital plan. I mean, at best, we have a couple of $1 million every year to invest in capital. And this is an issue that is creeping up on us, and we may need to take a big bite of the apple, rather than just nibbling at it here, right? But nobody's going to take a big bite until there's a comprehensive answer to the problem.
Yes, I don't know if towns do kind of a comprehensive stormwater management plan. If
That's
they
actually
do.
what it's called, is a comprehensive stormwater management plan.
If they do, I would recommend even maybe this year, maybe putting forward some kind of start towards doing something like that, because I agree. I mean, we can just band-aid the problem as we go along and spend a ton of money or plan for it and maybe spend, a bit of money up front, but then save money in the long run. And like you said, 100 miles of road, I don't know what percentage of them have stormwater issues, but I bet it's in the tens or more. What the middle is a mile to pave a road or something, so. Is that what we're running now?
Fully an highway, but it's less for us, but no, I think Peter's onto something there, because a lot of my projects are all stormwater related. Yeah, perhaps a loan is the way to go. Just a little bit on the stormwater task force. Yeah, I think their goal is to come up with a stormwater utility that could fund, maybe somebody at the DPW to oversee the stormwater, or even on the labor side to respond to stormwater, buy some different equipment that will help with stormwater. I think that's what the idea of the utility is. I know a bunch of towns around us have gone to that.
Well, that's another thing that, has been discussed here in the past. It's something that, people don't want to talk about, but, we could come up with some, I guess there's a vehicle to do a, impermeable surface fee or something along those lines. We have, I think there's a pretty big bite in your budget, Bill, that, is more or less, it's like $100,000 just to deal with compliance on this issue. I don't remember the exact number, but it was substantial. You know, it's not like we're not spending money on stormwater. It's that we're continually being asked to spend more and running into more problems. And it feels like we're getting further and further behind. Or maybe we just have more squeaky wheels, which could very well be the case as well. You know, there's one sitting at your table, definitely. So.
Again, one of the reasons we're getting further and further behind is these storms are getting, I mean, it's climate change in action. The storms are bigger and they're worse, and it's absolutely having an impact. And like I said, DEP can't keep up. If DEP can't keep up, and that's the thing they do, and we take our guidance from them, and even when we exceed it, how people push back. What I am hearing based on this, and I apologize, maybe this is beyond the purview of this group directly, but we do have a planning board meeting coming up on Monday. And what I'd like to do is I'll check with Ms. Reed, who is our representative to the Stormwater Task Force, because I don't know all the goings on there right now, to get a more comprehensive answer of what they're looking at.
Yeah.
And we do have a consultant that we've hired. Because we do not have a land use director, we have limited hours. I don't know where we are with that, but if we have availability on those hours, I could, if the board approves, I could ask him to look at and kind of give us an idea of what other communities are doing that's being effective.
Yeah.
And he's also worked in communities similar to Lunenburg. So that could give us some data points to work from. I can report back on that. And that may, whether or not it's directly the purview of this group, we have enough other groups represented here that could be beneficial.
Okay, none of this is dealt with in the master plan, right? There's no stormwater.
Oh, I'd have to,
I don't think so.
I don't think stormwater is addressed in master plan, no.
Okay.
And to be perfect, right, I'm happy with this discussion because something I was clear with at the planning board is I would like to use the next 18 to 24 months to fix as many non-transformative issues within the planning board's purview to put forward to the town. Because once that master plan is complete, then we're gonna have a whole bunch of other things to look at. So this is the kind of thing I believe the board is interested in looking at now. We have more freedom later to basically, once the will of the people is in written form, to then use that to actually enact that will, you know, get that will moving within the town itself.
Okay, next project. It's for cemetery enhancements. So we have a bunch of, Peter's done a bunch of projects that need to get done. It's just outside of the operating budget. We need to, like shown here, the flagpole and the concrete base around it. This is in the north. We have to do the same in the south. We have to put lighting on the flags, which flag etiquette says you need lights. We don't have lights. We have a bunch of stumps. I took a picture of a stump there. We have 15 of them or something over in the south that need to come out. It's just a couple of little things that are just outside of my operating budget. So I'm asking for, one time shot in the arm, get us through that and put the cemeteries back into better shape.
Does anyone ever reach out for like Eagle Scout projects? I know sometimes we get some really good Eagle Scout projects.
They have done projects. The Monty Tech actually did this concrete pad. They were going to do the other one. I think the lead teacher retired, so there's a little transition there. So they couldn't come out this year, and they haven't committed to coming out at all for us. But yeah, we do try to use the Boy Scouts or Monty Tech. Yeah.
We had a discussion last year about items of this nature, of this cost. That they should operate. I mean, somebody should just say.
Yeah.
That this should be something I would believe, or I would hope that the town manager would say, let's join. Let's just add one, it's a one-time expenditure in the operating budget to do this, instead of a capital plan. Because the $20,000, and then you only got to $20,000 because you put together like 4 things. So, again, I'm not against doing it, I just don't think capital planning is the proper place for it.
All right, the next one, so the next one is the garage floor at the DPW. It's the newer garage built in 2012. And the never, as far as I can tell, never had a coating on it, so the floor is starting to deteriorate. There's some cracks, there's some deterioration. The word just fell out of my head, what it's called. Basically, the top layer of concrete just kind of scaling, sorry. A word fell out of my head, that was good. There's scaling all over, there's a couple cracks. I had Black Bear Coatings come out, take a look at it. They recommended a flooring system that would last for many years. They do it all over the place, so
Was it the polyurea ones?
I believe it was, yeah. It's a multi-coat system, yeah. Just protect our investment there.
Well, what was the new garage?
So 2012, so it's I think 11 years, yeah, so that's, we haven't done anything in 11 years, it's just about time. Another request for the cemeteries, the older headstones from the 1700s and 1800s. A lot of them are covered with the lichens, or some of them are falling over, some of them have fallen over, the bases and junk. So this is a project to restore the headstones. We reached out to Leominster Monument. They gave us a cost estimate, pretty much to get them all, and
This would do both cemeteries?
for both, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is a comeback from last year, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So this did not get funded last year. I don't recall specifically coming up, but I don't recall, or it was
That's
there were
correct.
2 phases to
It
it
did
or
not.
something.
No, it did not get funded. It was recommended after we voted, it was right near the middle about the cutoff point, and the town manager, I think, talked to the committee and convinced us to move it down, or maybe reordered it herself, either one. But it was on the cusp anyway.
Yeah, okay.
Do there exist grants for the preservation of historic grave sites? I wonder that because,
Imagine so. David, do you know?
Didn't hear.
He says, are there grants available for the restoration of historic grave sites?
We don't know of any
okay,
that I'm aware of. That's one of my projects I was trying to do, is trying to find a grant person. But what I heard originally, we just don't have the access to do the grant writing right now.
Okay, so I heard 2 things. You don't know that grants exist,
Right.
but even if they did
I was
exist.
trying to- one of my projects was with the cemetery commission to find out if we can hire a grant writer to do it. And I guess at one time, the town manager did one grant for us, but that's not really part of her
Right.
position. So I don't know how else to, and I've been trying to find out, trying to talk to people, how would we hire a grant writer to do that for the town? To help us out.
Good.
Because it's not easy to do grant writing, you really have to know what you're doing.
Well, the first thing to do is determine, are there grants, which I assume
And then-
probably are, but I recommend, just off the top of my head, like, talk to the town of Concord and the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, which is like one of the most historic ones in the area. Of course, in further toward Boston would be Mount Auburn, but that's huge. I mean, Concord is a town of our size that has lots of history, so I have to believe if anybody knows, that cemetery commission probably knows what's available that you could talk to them.
I could check into that.
And
I'm with another nonprofit that hires grant writers, and that's their job to look around to see,
Okay.
you know, what grants are available and how much we can get from the grant.
Sure.
But, I will check with that.
And just thinking out loud, this is, I mean, I care about Old Grapes because they tell. They might not tell your history or my history, but they tell our collective history as a town, as a nation. I think they're extremely valuable, says the guy who was raised by a history teacher, so. But this is also something I look at, and I think it's important, but I also wonder if grants exist, whether or not we can hire a grant writer. There's people who are passionate about this, and I wonder if it's one of those scenarios where you might be able, there might be someone in town that we don't know about because we haven't asked everyone. That has both enough knowledge about grant writing, and this is a pet passion. That could be this might be the kind of thing that you could get that volunteer effort for. I don't know. But I think it's important, and I think that could be another way to get it in the face of other steep costs.
I haven't found-
Hold on 1 second. We're town of Lunenburg. I'm assuming this is Heather has her hand raised.
Yes, thank you. There is a grant, I think, through the Secretary of State for preservation projects. So that's something you can look at. I think it's a 50% matching grant.
That would be great, yeah.
I just need someone to write it.
Well, knowing it exists is half the battle.
If only there was a gathering of impassioned town people sometime in the next couple of weeks that might have knowledgeable and passionate people about the town, where it'd be easy to say something out loud and have maybe 150-ish people hear it. Maybe
Wow.
some kind of special town meeting.
Yeah. Took me a while to find out where you were going, but I did get there before you said it,
So
so.
one thing you might consider, and I don't know, I mean, the National Honor Society requires people to volunteer. If they're in the honor society, presumably they're smart. Maybe they could help us with some of these grants too.
I've never seen, well, I have seen some of the graphs and I don't know, that may be a tall ask for a high school student to do.
I mean, if it's a small one, like 20 grand, I don't know how hard it is.
That's fair.
Because
I've
I've
read-
had a grant writer, and there's other departments that could use that grant writer instead of going through capital funding all the time.
Yeah, I would, yeah. Or give the grant writer 10% of the grant. Like a 5%. Hey, one thing I noticed on this next one is it has the same number as the prior.
What's that, the project number?
Yeah. I actually found a couple of those.
23, 21, that's just me copy paste, did a bad job at it. Sorry about that.
I just had noticed that because I was
Yeah.
trying to correlate some data
Yeah.
offline.
It should be all right on the first couple slides, I probably just didn't copy them over,
Okay,
right?
yeah. The spreadsheet had it too.
That was wrong there too?
There were a couple redundant numbers in the spreadsheet.
That's frustrating, okay.
It
I'll look at
it is
that.
what it is.
Yeah. So the cemetery commission is asking for $350,000 to remove the existing hedges over at the north cemetery, replace it with a stone wall. They got a couple cost estimates, the stone walls are 220, I believe, and the other 120 or so would be for removing the hedges and prepping the area. So.
Yeah, I think we saw the presentation, or many of us saw the presentation from the cemetery commission chair to the select board a few weeks ago.
I've never looked, but now I will.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
All right, moving on to fiscal 26. We're looking for our seventh big dump truck and snow fighter type truck. We have two now, we got four on order. We need a seventh, we have 7 snow routes, so we need 7 trucks. Didn't place this as high as a priority, because. Like I said, we have the 2, we have 4 more coming, so next winter, we won't have them this winter. Next winter, we'll have the 6, so we can get by without it. Bigger snowstorms will suffer a little bit, but
So how are we dealing with it now? How are we gonna deal, what is the plan for this winter? With two
contractors,
trucks? Okay,
contractors. So we've hired a couple of more contractors with big trucks.
okay.
Why don't we contract it out?
It's more expensive.
Show me.
I can show you the snow and ice budgets for like the past 20 years, and last year was the highest by over $200,000, and it's because we had more contractors.
I'd like to see the data on that, included burden costs, retirement costs, everything else associated with hiring the labor on it. Overtime, everything. $310,000 trucks. I really would like to see that analysis.
I would too. I mean, I fundamentally believe it very likely is cheaper to do it ourselves because I get the logic there, but I'd love to see the numbers stacked out to back up that suspicion I have.
Yeah,
Right, that's a pretty big exercise for me, so I have to give you some time now.
okay, I mean, maybe it doesn't have to be done for capital plan, but maybe it's a question I might ask
Yeah,
during
Right.
finance committee.
Sure.
Well,
Well, this is also for.
And this is 26, so
Yeah,
I.
it's 26 anyway, so.
but I mean, it's a particularly legitimate question right now because we're effectively paying double, right? We've appropriated funds for 4 trucks that we don't have. And we're paying extra for contractors for the trucks that we don't have. So, does it make sense not to buy the 4 trucks that we don't have? And go spend,
Already purchased,
I'm sorry,
they're already purchased.
cancel the
They're just-
orders. Cancel them.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't, I understand the logic and I understand if all things being equal and you could buy a truck and get it tomorrow, that you can do a cost analysis and a crossover and all that good stuff. But we're spending double over the last couple of years and not seeing any return on that. And maybe we save double next year or the year after when we finally get the trucks, but nobody's definitively shown that at this point. And I think that it may be we may be at a tipping point here where either, we make a decision to do something different, or we're at least made to feel more comfortable given the frustration that we've gone through over the course of the last couple of years.
yeah, and just as another, I think outsourcing IT was the right issue, right? And I think we're getting far better IT because of specialists. I think the costs are probably better on it as well. You just look at maintenance costs, repair, mechanics, everything else associated with keeping this fleet of trucks in for a couple months. I would like to see the total analysis on costs associated with snow removal. And again, including retirement, everything else, right? The whole burden cost.
Well, those aren't gonna be able to get it retirement, that's gonna be the town managers.
Right, I have to work with her. Right. Another thing to keep in mind is anybody who's driven on the highway, seen the big signs, snowplow drivers wanted. They're hard to come by, so it might be hard to hire vendors. We got lucky this year that our vendors came back, the ones that we used last year, and we were lucky enough to find another one or two. But some towns, they can't find them, MassDOT can't find.
Be great data, I mean, that would be data I'd wanna have as well in that kind of analysis is. Because if the answer is, yeah, we could save some, but in an ideal world, but in practicality, here's the obstacles. I mean, there's opportunity cost and everything there too, so I think that would be. I think the more info you could give us would be wonderful for wrapping our brains around this.
What do you feel about the liability issue? Because whether we contract or not, we are responsible for the roads in the town. So if a contractor had equipment problems of their own and they could not provide the service, we'd still be liable for the roads.
Correct?
So, I mean, there are some things I think that just don't lend themselves well to contracting out because of that problem.
Well, I mean,
Right for
there's
contracting
never,
us.
so Tom, I'm 51 years old and I've lived in Lunenburg for 41. And I don't ever recall a year where we haven't had contractors driving up and down Pleasant Street plowing snow. So for that argument to hold, I think we would have to be without contractors entirely, right? I mean,
No, but we have our trucks and if contractors don't show up, then they would come later, equipment to do the whole thing, then there wouldn't be people on call to do any plowing in case people didn't do it. I mean, my understanding is that the town has done the major routes and then we've contracted out the secondary roads to other contractors over the years. Am I incorrect or?
Well, the town uses the big trucks to put down the salt, right? We have control over how much salt goes out. Not that we can't control vendors, but it's better to do it in-house. The vendors, they're on every road. During, small storms, we'd only call in our own equipment. Bigger storms, we need help. We can't keep up with the snow. That's when we bring in the vendors.
Who does it? Is it the heavy equipment operators? I'm looking at your org chart. Who is the actual?
Yes, the heavy equipment operators.
So we have 3 heavy equipment operators.
We have 5 slots.
Oh, I understand, but the
Yeah.
whole argument was that about hiring, would a contractor be able to hire? I mean, we have 2 openings right now. And if they're doing big storms, this is all they can do. Right, you got the entire fleet out there for it, so. I don't know, again, I'd like to see the analysis. I think I've asked for it in prior to this policy committee, but maybe that was on something else.
Next one in 26 is replacing our old catch basin cleaning truck. The old truck's a 2002, it's getting kind of tired. It's a big truck. Now they make smaller models, which for us would be more ideal. Most of our roads, the bigger trucks, they're good for highways, we put a lot of material in them. We don't need to put a lot of material, we can run to the landfill and dump as much as we need, it's not that far to go, so. Smaller trucks, smaller costs, smaller operating costs, it's just a better option for us.
So do these do all the catch basins in town?
Ideally, yes. So
Well, you have
my
2002, is that able to do? I know there's some
So-
special ones on Butterfly Lane or something like that, but other than that, is this?
Well, most of the catch basins, yeah, this type of, it's called a clamshell can do it. Yeah,
The one that you're talking about, those are some specialized.
yes, yes,
catch
right,
basins that-
right, and they need a
That's the problem.
specialized truck.
Right. Right.
But when you were doing the basins on page 3, you said someone else was coming up to do those.
We did, I initially did them with this truck,
Yeah,
right? But this truck can't jet the lines, so we hired a Vector truck that can suck out at the catch basins, get them cleaner, right? Cause this can only get so much. excuse me, and then it also has a jetter, so we can jet the lines, so it was combination type truck, that's what we used out on Page Street, it's open,
Okay, so you don't have that equipment?
we
You
do
have-
not,
Okay,
you know.
is that something you'll be looking for, or you would continue to contract that out?
Well, the way stormwater's going, it's in our future, the combination truck like that is $500,000 and up. So haven't put that on the capital list yet, but I can see it in our future, but maybe if we go with a stormwater utility, we might be able to fund it through there, or at least partially fund it through there.
I gotta tell you, I think my understanding is a vacuum truck costs a lot more than that, but if it costs $500,000, I'd gladly buy a vacuum truck over a 7th plow truck. You know, but that's just with my limited understanding of how many catch basins we do a year, how much time it takes to hit a catch basin with a clamshell versus a vacuum truck, the limitations of a clamshell relative to some of these new systems like what's up on Butterfly Lane. But I mean, this is a critical piece of equipment, whether we use this spec or another one, we got to clean those catch basins.
Do I remember correctly that Butterfly Lane was a subdivision and that's why it has a different catch basin design?
Correct.
And just for scope, if, again, I wasn't the chair when this was done, but I believe the planning board has put in a consultation with your department now when subdivisions are proposed, knowing that the town might take over those roads someday, that the catch basins that are there should be maintained without, should be able to be maintained without, with a clamshell rather than with a jet, et cetera, truck.
Well, this one that was, one on that development was a big issue that even then.
Yeah,
It
well,
was brought to the forefront during that discussion that we were putting in something that we didn't have, we were gonna own the road and we didn't have the ability to clean.
I would say that's what precipitated this change.
Right.
So I don't know that we'll see more, I mean, it'd be better nice if we didn't have any of that style, but we have safeguards in place to prevent more of that currently.
That's good to know.
I'm not saying, I mean, there may still be very valid use cases, yeah.
Yes, I know this is next year, and we'll talk about it more in the future, but that would be one of the, I guess the questions is it, do we have all the equipment that we need for and I'm gonna ask in finance committee, and what's our tempo on this? Are we actually cleaning the things as frequently as we should be?
Right, so I was gonna address that, so my goal was to do 25% this year, we didn't make the goal. Mostly because I don't have the bodies, I need a bigger staff. So again, back to that stormwater utility. Hopefully that would fund another person, somebody I could keep on this truck. Or if we do go with a Vector truck, you know, you don't wanna buy a $500,000 truck and have it sit, right?
Yep.
You wanna use it, right now I couldn't use it.
So that would
As
get me
much
to
as we-
the same question as the prior one. Does it make sense to do this in-house or outsource it?
Right, so right now we outsource it, it's $2,500 a day.
And how many days do we usually do that for?
Yeah, this year we've had them in, oh, how many times? Well. The fiscal year is young, right, but 5 times, all right, $10,000. I gotta put it right,
Oh, because of procurement?
because of procurement.
But that's labor and,
Yeah,
and.
it's the truck and the
and
driver,
the labor.
yeah.
Okay, $2,500 a day and driver.
That's the low guy, so the next one up's 2,600, another guy at 2,800.
Okay, again, against a $500,000 potential,
Mhm.
I don't know how many days like it would take if you got a of 25% a year.
This just under 1,000, so 250, maybe do, depending on what's in them, 10, 15 a day, so.
Okay, it seems like we should, do that analysis as well,
Yeah.
you know, we are debating numbers on an item that isn't even on the plan yet, though. If I understand.
Yeah,
I'm not saying we should, I would call attention that that's what we're doing. Because I usually start thinking about things and go, oh yeah, that's relevant. It's relevant, but
I understand. I don't disagree.
Yeah, I guess my view on the whole plan holistically and how I'll vote even this year is looking out over the next 10 years.
yes.
You know, what's ahead of us on capital plans and stormwater, roads and, you know, and vehicles are big items, right? There's probably and then the maintenance of all of it and everything else and staffing, I mean, it's been hard. Hopefully that would turn a corner on that, but
Next one is to replace this F-350 utility truck. The existing one now has been out of service for a few years. And we get by grabbing other trucks when we have to, so. And want to just kind of fly through the rest, but since it's out years, right? So again, equipment, 10-year replacement cycle for the 1-tons. The 1-tons are daily use for all year. These trucks are go. So 10 years is more than you can ask out of them, so. Right, another 1-ton in the 10-year cycle. This would be a new request, again, towards stormwater, right? We hire a contractor to do a lot of our work, and this is the machine that they bring out.
yeah, I can see you have a mini excavator.
Yeah,
I guess the one thing I would ask on all, there was big things about attachments and all those kind of things, just make sure that we're not buying something new and then all the attachments we just bought don't fit with them and you know what I mean?
right. Next one is North Cemetery, the roads and spots are in tough shape, they could use some repaving. I ran the numbers on that, and $225,000, what it came out. Townwide tree maintenance, again, I'm sure Tony gonna say this should be an operation budget, right? I found in the drawer a report from 2015, thousands of trees, right, that were surveyed. A lot of them would say risk. A lot of them haven't been touched, and there's just one of them, right? It's, you know, I think it's a liability issue. Some of these dead trees start dropping on cars or houses.
What's the
Sounds pretty
capital
level.
on this stuff? Chainsaws?
Buy a contract to do the work,
You're gonna contract it all?
yeah,
Like gas blend or something.
right,
Bill, we
And you're
have
right,
a,
operating, because I think this should be done every year. And I think that, you know, instead of playing catch up 50,000, we should do 10,000 a year and probably put $10,000 a year every year to keep it up with.
I agree with you.
on
Bill,
top of
we
what I have.
have a tree removal line in the budget, don't we, or a tree maintenance line?
We do, it's small, it's only $30,000.
So then we should bump that up by $10,000 at least to do it. That's what I would do.
What is a tree warden thing?
Yeah.
I'm taking a class now, that's why this is in here, because, you know, they talk about liability and risk, and yeah, we have some risk out there.
Yeah.
So,
Well, our neighbors, you know, tree fell, that went the wrong way.
right,
Right,
the next tree, that's a big tree, that's probably a $3,000 tree to take down,
Yeah,
so. You know, the $30,000 budget doesn't get too far.
I'm in agreement though. I don't think should be capped. I think you should just up it even this coming year. And Unitil takes down some trees too.
All right, as we go further and further, now we're in FY 27, let's pick up the pace here, otherwise,
Yeah,
I understand this is a 41 slide, PowerPoint, so
yes,
let's pick up the pace, because I just identify them.
right, so a lot of the remaining ones are just, equipment replacement on the cycle that I've laid out, so. This is a little track that we have, it's used in the cemetery, it's used for various little jobs, so. Now the cemetery request, some of the existing walls in north and south, are starting to fall apart. There's areas where the stones falling off, areas where stones were stolen, so. There's some project to rehab those walls.
Stone walls might be another grant thing that.
Yeah,
pretty
oh, that's a
protected,
good
right?
point.
Yeah,
I hadn't thought about that, but yeah. I mean, there might be a historic preservation, yeah, no, I can see absolutely.
Flat Hill Drain, it's just kind of just a placeholder at this point, because
For
we.
last night's meeting,
Yeah,
missing a few zeros.
potentially. We don't know what we're gonna do there yet, it's just, like I said, a placeholder at this point, I just kind of put it on out here because it's kind of an unknown.
Okay.
so just on that one, do you have something in here to figure out what we're gonna do? I know we have some monies for it, but. Between now and 3 years from now,
Well, I think the discussion last night was, let's see after they clean out their retention basin.
that's not what I walked away from last night's with.
No, am I characterizing it wrong?
I don't know what they're planning to do, they walked out of the meeting, so.
Well,
I don't know what
assuming they clean it out, we see how that affects the flooding situations there, and then design something to handle that.
Okay, if that's what you want from last night, then I think. That's not at all what the neighbors are asking for.
Right, I know, you're asking me something a lot faster, I get it.
Well, that's not gonna solve the problem, cleaning
Mm.
something that's been in complete disrepair. Even if I believe that they're gonna clean it, and that's not the only source that's coming down these roads. So I think we need a plan on this.
I agree.
And I think wasn't there an engineering request for that last year that we did not prioritize? Do you remember that, or was that a different?
Well, the last meeting, not last night, the one prior that we discussed this, it was agreed that once we get the drainage system that was in place back up to operational satisfaction, that then we would determine what the impact was. Nobody thought it would solve the problem, but it has a significant impact on the problem. And, building something with X amount of cubic feet of water a minute versus something triple that is a very different system to build. So, yeah, I think after last night's meeting, I think we'll probably go back and say, you know what, we have to start on that. Sooner, but then, it's kind of hamstrung for where to put it's just a matter of where to put the water and how much will that cost. So those two things are enormous obstacles to getting this solved.
And that's probably a good place to start, right, is where do we put the water?
Right,
And
that's
if
the
it-
first thing we have to determine.
And then if it requires easements, go after those next, right?
That-
And then we can determine the size.
Well, off the capital planning topic, that's exactly what my thinking is. Let's identify where we want it to go
Mhm.
and then work out with wherever we need easements to do it.
Well, I think somewhat related to the topic is that we often put a capital plan in for the first phase to do engineering studies and analysis on it. And I think we even talked about earlier, one of the first meetings that I was part of in capital planning is, why don't we just have an operating line item for engineering services, so that when these things pop up, it's at the discretion of the manager and the DPW and et cetera to go hire engineers to look at our problems.
Right,
Schools as well, I mean, schools is
Yeah.
in the same boat.
we do, but there is a line item for engineering. Again, it's small, and we have to put in maybe 100,000 in there to do some of these projects,
Okay,
if we're doing multiple projects. Then it's a big increase from what we have. Next.
West Townsend Road.
Again, drainage improvements, you drive out there, there's all kinds of culverts that are pretty old and. You know, with the new storms we're getting, I think a lot of them are undersized, this one here washed out pretty bad on September 11th. So, and a lot of them are, there's no guardrail, there's some safety issues there, like this one, you drive off the road there, you're in trouble.
yeah,
Cemetery turf restoration.
Yeah, again, the carryover, this year the grass didn't look too bad with all the rain, but there are spots like this where it's pretty bare, so. South Cemetery, the roads. Some of those are in tough shape, they're to be repaired.
Now we're in FY 28.
We had another culvert, this one I had at an earlier year, but, it's not as bad as some of the other culverts. You know, have to get to know it a little bit, so I pushed it out a few years. Salt shed replacement, the existing salt barn. Not sure when it was built, but it's getting tired, it's getting old. Replace it with a new fabric style, something a little bigger, something you can load inside instead of outside, which is environmentally a much better option.
Mhm. Okay.
So a new West Townsend, so the previous one was for the engineering, this one is for the construction, and again, you drive off the road here. Not good, the head wall there is just a pile of stones instead of a real head wall. Another truck replacement on the replacement schedule, another truck. Replacement of the chipper. Replace the existing loader.
so that would make you always have two loaders, is what you're
Yes.
getting towards.
Yes,
Well,
I think operational wise, two loaders would benefit us quite a bit, so. The culvert here on Northville again, the other one was for engineering, this one's for construction.
Backhoe loader.
Yeah, just a regular
Regular
replacement
replacement.
cycle, same on this, it's one of our good big trucks. It seems funny putting a 2020 on there, but it's 10 years out, so. The road sweeper, just regular replacement, the other big truck replacement schedule. The cemetery lawnmower. I have it way out 10 years, I don't think it's gonna make it that long, I foresee this one being bumped up. And again, kind of funny putting the brand new truck on the capital plan, but it's 10 years old replacement, so. Any other truck,
is that like your truck? You got it?
this one here,
Okay.
yeah. Right now, we'll take off, it's truck one, we'll take truck one off the road, once we get another truck. This is the tractor, regular replacement cycle.
Okay, let me stop sharing. Okay, I would open it up to the general discussion of the committee. If anybody has any further questions for Mr. Bernard? Or wants to have any further discussion on any of the items that were presented?
Bill, do you,
No, I think we had good discussion throughout it, I mean, no, sorry,
I'm sorry.
go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, there's a rotten delay here. Bill, do you, I think that the town manager has already briefed this, but could you refresh me on where exactly we're at on the 4 trucks and the tractor that we have ordered or have appropriated?
Right, so a year ago, last September, I ordered the first 2 trucks. The bill dates are, one is in November, so this month. And then the bill date on the other one is December. That's just the truck and chassis, then it's gotta go for upfitting the plows and the sanders. I don't expect to see those till the end of the winter. We just went out to bid for 2 more trucks. That's, if it hasn't been awarded yet, it's probably gonna be some tomorrow. They said they could have those trucks by June of 2024. And then the tractor for the roadside mowing, they told me June, they told me October, they told me November 11th. So hopefully next week I see it. We'll see.
We received bids on the 2 trucks that are currently out to bid.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And we're in the process of awarding a contract.
Which took multiple bids, by the way.
It did.
Took multiple bids before anybody bid on
We had bids, they bid the wrong size truck,
it. Well,
unfortunately.
there you
But this time around, we got the right size truck. You know, we were happy with them and it should be awarded very shortly. It's just, they were waiting, I think, for one more form they have to fill out.
Thank you.
But
But
the vendor did say he ordered the trucks already, so.
I think the town manager has something to add to this, Madam Town Manager.
No, just a clarification. So the notice of award already did go to the truck. The execution of the contract. I think that's remaining.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Because we're so few, Heather, I would, you don't have to raise your hand. It actually takes more if you raise your hand than just
Okay.
participate, so just chime. Pretend this is like my home dinner table, when we had 9 of us around.
You hungry or something?
Now that you mention it.
Hey, Heather, did those did those awards, were those bids in line with what we had appropriated?
Yes.
Good.
Okay, anybody else have any questions, comments, anecdotes?
Just one question with respect to, again, more forward. You know, you have a lot of these infrastructure type, the stormwater and all that. You think you're at like 50% of them in here that are probably in the 10-year horizon, 25%? I mean, how well do you? I know that's a question, but like,
So probably on the lower end, probably 25%, yeah.
so you think there's,
Because I'm finding more all the time.
Find more.
More drainage structures
Okay,
that need
yeah.
some type of repair.
Now, it's been a while since I was the representative to MRPC and MJTC. So I don't remember the name of the grants. But I know there's some, or I remember there being, I can't remember the name of the grant, but there was one that kind of cycled through the communities that we haven't had in a while. For, I think even can involve some culvert work. You might know the one I mean. It's,
The tip.
yeah, tips, thank you. I mean, is that something that we could be looking at for some of these projects? And unless we've had things out to them recently, I have no idea. I haven't been on that committee for a couple of years.
Putting these on the tip, I'm not sure. Heather, is that something we could do? I don't know.
I'm not sure as well. So
Yeah.
TIP stands for Transportation Improvement Plan. So I think it's usually like roadway work. I don't know for culverts and that type of work that it would be. It might have to be more comprehensive.
Yeah, I think it may be, and major roadways, it has to be
Right.
strong roadways.
That's what I'm thinking too.
So I didn't know the level that I mean, because I think of a road like Northfield that I feel is a major roadway because I live on it and people certainly drive on it like it's a major roadway. But, okay, like I said, my memory was spotty from there, but I feel like I had seen work, but I could be crossing that with another memory from some of the MJTC or MRPC meetings, so
Right.
you would know better than me. I just wanted to put that out there, because I didn't think we had done work with them for a while.
I have a question about what you're finding out there. Is what you're finding out there an overwhelming of systems that are now underbuilt for what the current conditions are, number one? Is it stuff that's not end of life but poorly maintained, or are some of the things just end of life, like there are culverts that are just the corrugated steel is rotting and you have to replace them?
Yeah, it's a combination. I think a lot of stuff we're finding is undersized, especially for the biggest storms we have. You know, we get the flooding, but then it goes away, but it takes a while, right? Pipes can't handle it. And a lot of it is, I think, just the way they put it in. They didn't put head walls, or they didn't extend it out far from the road, so there's, you know, drop offs, there's safety issues. It's just a combination of things. And we try our best to maintain them, keep, you know, if we have a flooding issue, we find it and open it up. But yeah, it's just, I think it's more just under designed or.
Or under
No,
designed for
no,
today's capacity?
Yeah, no, I don't think there was any design. They just said, oh, wait, let's throw a 12-inch pipe in.
Right.
And it worked. It
Right.
worked for years, but yeah.
I mean, I think some of the things that I've seen over my years is and this is something that comes up with buildings all the time too. It happened with the roads, we address the roads with the pavement management plan, but you know, we put in things and then the maintenance of those things and the reevaluation of them. Like when we asked, oh, well, how many catch bases do we have? Like 5 years ago, we didn't even know how many we had. Like that was a scary answer. Like, I don't know. Like, it's a countable number. Like, I don't think it's infinity. So there must be a number.
We couldn't find one,
Right.
Right, exactly. So I mean, now that we're identifying it, now everything that's overlaid on GIS maps is really helpful.
Yeah.
And then you can put something like in your position, you can put things on a more, you know, a regular schedule. And I don't think any of that was done before. Somebody put it in and someone changed positions and changed DPW,
Right.
and then nobody knew where it was.
Right, and a lot of times with this firemen, there's a fire, you go put it up.
I think we also at one point talked about like guardrails. A lot of our guardrails are just rusted and falling off. They're, you know, sharp
Yeah.
edges and all that too. Do we have a plan? Is part of this plan to replace guardrails across town that are in those conditions,
No.
or is that operating budget?
Well, given the cost of it, I just did a guardrail contract, a couple of areas, Northfield Road.
Yeah.
It's rather expensive. I was shocked the price of the steel went way up. So that would be another future capital plan. I don't think we could squeeze that out of the operational budget.
Good. All right, so I guess that's something else we gotta kind of,
So what I have seen, if I could summarize your presentation. Fell into basically three. Obviously, equipment, because equipment is the lifeblood of what you need to do your job.
Yeah.
Stormwater
Mhm.
and the cemetery.
Correct.
do you put culverts and stormwater, or is that? okay.
Yeah,
I would,
I would assume.
stormwater or / water management.
Yeah.
Maybe it was culverts aren't necessarily stormwater, but. Okay,
One other just thing I would like added to the package is just that assessment, especially for the first year, as to what might have, grants. I know we talked about it, but
Yeah.
it would help me in prioritizing and where are the possible grants.
now I'm gonna ask you a question that nobody likes to hear asked. Because you have a busy schedule, but obviously, we have to have our plan prioritized by this committee and to the town manager by the end of the year. So there are questions that were asked outside, well. I won't say necessarily, I'll even include the evaluation that you were asked to do as far as the outsourcing of the plowing. When can you get that back to us? You know, again, I don't wanna. Yeah, I'm asking you.
Right.
We're looking to get answers to as many things as we can before we have to finalize the final plan.
So, yeah, some of the questions, yeah, pretty quick, week or two. the analysis from the truck, that's gonna take me some time. I don't know, but I don't even wanna throw a number at that.
Okay,
Remind me, was the truck this year or next year?
I put it on next year.
So even if we got that.
Yep.
After the new year, that's the kind of info we could use when,
we do, when we do
Doing
our
our-
10-year look, yeah.
when we do our capital planning as opposed to our
So
capital.
put that, prioritize that last, put all the other questions first.
Yeah.
And if you would send it to the entire committee and the town manager, so we see your answer.
But you already may know the plan, but to be overt, we're not stopping at the new year, as the committee has previously. We're then going to be looking at a 10-year plan.
Mhm.
So that analysis, as we head, if it's feasible as we head into the new year, would be extremely valuable
Yep.
for looking at that long term.
Okay, so if you have, if that can be done, if any way that can be done by no later than mid-January, that would be
Alright.
excellent.
I will try my best.
Anybody have anything else for Mr. Bernard, or we can send him on his way, so he's not here till like 11 again? 10, I think.
Oh, good.
Thank you for sitting
I wanna
here while
thank
we
you.
ask hard questions. I appreciate it.
I appreciate the presentation and all the dialogue.
And I think all your one pages were really, really good.
Excellent. Okay. Did a discussion, let's consider, unless there's anybody else have any discussion of the capital planning request, kind of do those at the same time. We mix those two bullet point items. Approval of minutes of October 23rd. Did anybody have any changes to the minutes?
I didn't have any changes.
Can
I
went
was,
into
I was
yours?
not able to read them. Apparently I've just been given access, so.
Do you want us to hold on? Up, or do you?
I will abstain from the vote because I wasn't at the meeting. I know I'm allowed to,
Yeah,
but I don't think that would be.
all right, so we will postpone this till the next meeting. So we have enough people to vote on that.
Peter, did you get access? Is that what you said?
No, he
No,
doesn't
I'm-
have access. So you haven't read it.
I'm on a work computer right now, so,
I just sent him something. I didn't know if he.
yeah, so I'm restricted in
Okay,
logging in with my
Our next meeting
email and
is
stuff
Nov-
from my work computer, so I'll have to try it later on.
Gotcha. Our next meeting is November 20th, I believe, yes, Monday, November 20th. And I believe that's the one that has a 7 o'clock start time, correct, Peter?
Yes, sir.
is that at school?
No, but he's got a meeting with some. Where it'll be here. It's just, it'll be starting at 7 here.
No, who's on the agenda?
Oh, schools are on the agenda, yes, I'm sorry, yes. And then I don't, off the top of my head, I'd have to look, I don't have it on my notes here, where the next meeting after that is, but that meeting is in full 2 weeks, so. The next meeting is the first week in December, I believe, but I don't have the exact date.
And what do we have on facility?
That will be facility, yes.
And then that's. That right?
That should be it. Then we get to meet among ourselves in a conclave until this white smoke comes out. We don't have a capital plan.
Just for planning, I'm probably away the week of December 10th or 11th or whatever that is, just, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what we have to go, I'll have to go through that over the next 2 weeks. What
I'm
dates
also away
are
that
available, we didn't have one.
And then for,
You're away the week of the 10th too?
Yeah, I believe so.
If you guys could email me when you're away, just so I have it in my email when I look at other dates, that would be helpful.
Will do.
And I don't ask that because I don't write things down. I ask that because I want to have an email trail that, hey,
Yeah.
listen, I look back, that's it.
and then for just my understanding, for working through this again, somewhere around that time, we're gonna take the rank list and do our own
Yes,
ranking.
we're
Just
gonna
rank it?
discuss things after everybody's
Yeah.
meeting, we'll discuss them, then everybody will go and you'll be given an Excel spreadsheet with all the things in there. And it'll have 4 columns, 5 columns, one for each of us. And then everybody will put in their individual rankings, send them to me.
Okay,
I will collate them and then we will distribute them and get the composite orders, and then we can discuss it one last time and then finalize the ranking at that point.
okay.
So any public comment from the public? We have generally lost the public.
I'm just curious, the grant writer, how would the cemetery commission get that going, or
You,
do we go through the town
town
manager?
manager, yeah.
And then see if they would hire somebody, or how?
Yes, well, I would have a discussion, I would say that your chair and, or your committee and the town manager can discuss how that would be. You know, how you can approach it, I don't know, if there's, depend, I don't even know what the cost of a grant writer is. For X amount of time, maybe there's somebody who can do it, if you have a specific grant and do a writing, I don't know.
They're all different,
Right.
We've had from previous when I'm doing that on another board, it could be $50 an hour, and I have one right now that we're using $20 an hour. So it just
Right.
depends on who you're looking at.
So you would come to a plan and say, hey, listen, you're looking to do this, is there room in the budget, and make that request, we were making directly to the town manager.
Okay, thank you.
I hope I didn't get myself in trouble, I know, she's not on right now
Okay.
anymore, so. Okay, any public comment from the committee? Hearing none, I would thank everyone for their attendance, and again, thank you to the DPW Director, Bill Bernard, for his present discussion. I would entertain a motion to adjourn,
So moved.
Second,
and because we have a hybrid session, it's a roll call, Mr. Bernard,
aye.
Mr. Beardmore,
Aye.
Mr. Brenner,
Aye.
and I for myself, we are adjourned, and we will see everybody again on November 20th. Have a good night.
Good night.
Night.